Well, guys, after years, I finally did it. I read a Brandon Sanderson book. Like, he's always an author I've heard good things about, being somebody who watches BookTube regularly, and he's been on my list for a while, but for one reason or another, he kept getting bumped down. But I finally did it, guys. So, by some of these books behind me, I also have the Mistborn trilogy, Warbreaker, and A Way of Kings. So I'm in this for the long haul, fellas. But everybody on the internet has said, don't start with Elantris. It's his worst book. It sucks. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. I thought this was pretty enjoyable. If this is his worst book, then damn, like, I guess all these things are masterpieces then, right? Now, this book isn't perfect, I still really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a B. Um, so I think for a debut novel, first of all, it's pretty long. Most debut novels by authors usually around 400 pages. This one is 650, but it felt way longer. But I think it's just because I read the hardcover, because it took me like over like a little around 2 months to read. Though I am a slow reader, and I was reading that Cinema Speculation at the same time, so maybe that's what made it me take it longer. Um, but overall, I gotta say, guys, I enjoyed this book. The world building was great. People always talk about Sanderson's good world building. It was really, it was felt really fleshed out and lived in, especially like the city of Elantris itself. The magic system, I was a little bit confused as to how it works. I mean, maybe he explained it well and I just wasn't paying attention. But I feel like with like the whole magic system and why it works is something I'm not like completely invested in. I know some people are, but for me, I just care more about the characters, and that is where he delivers in this book. I do love the at least the three main characters, which is Raoden, Serini, and Hrathen. I'm just going by the audiobook narrator's pronunciations of the names. By the way, I wasn't a huge fan of the guy who narrated the audiobook. I think it came off as a little bit too cheesy, and I don't know, just some of the stuff he did irked me. Now, that's obviously a personal. He, he's okay. It's obviously a personal thing, I don't want to knock the guy or anything, but that's just like my opinion, man. Let's start off with Hrathen, who I think is a very good character because he's a very devout man to his religion. And he was sent to the city, Irulan, I think, to convert the masses into being Judaists. And he wants to because if they don't, they'll be killed. Um, as opposed to Delof, who is the main villain of the story, who really just doesn't care about any of that. He just wants to see the world burn. He's a crazy motherfucker. I love how right from the start you get bad vibes about Delof, and it just kind of builds. And he does have a good backstory as to why he's evil, but he's still kind of, ha ha ha, I'm evil, but menacing in a way, not in a comedic way, just in like, ooh, I fucking hate this guy, kill him. But I like how Hrathen is able to think outside of the box, like all his life he's been about order and compliance because it had structure to his life. But when it comes down to it, he chooses what he thinks is right and sticks up for Serini and Raoden and, sacrifices his life in the end, which is a tragic end to the character, but very well written and foreshadowed in advance. So I think he might be my favorite of the three main characters, though I do like them all, like I said. I like Serini a lot, because she's expected to fit the mold of just, I'm the princess, I just gotta, like, make everybody happy. But she's a lot more clever than that. She's not like the trophy wife that they set her up to be. Like, Sino's right from the beginning, like, Raoden's funeral is a little sus. And I hate that word so much. And she gets to the bottom of it. And I love whole, like, verbal sparrings with Hrathen, how they kind of start off as enemies, then they kind of respect each other towards the end. It's really cool. And Raoden is another great character. So he, is the prince. He had a very fortunate life. Um, but when he becomes an Elantrian, he's kind of like, everybody's like, we don't like you anymore, go to Elantris. So we see somebody who started off at the top, now has to live at the bottom. And I think because Raiden is such a strong person mentally, he's able to do it. And he makes the best out of a situation. I love his relationship with Galadan. Though I do think he says Sule a couple too many times. It gets a little annoying after a while. Hey, Sule, blah, 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 Sule. It's just like, okay, we get it. You know, you don't have to say it all the time. But I do like Galadan, and especially him and Raiden's friendship. They're there for each other. I love friendships like that. Part of the reason I really like Ted Lasso and Coach Beard's relationship. And I love how he gets Sereni to fall in love with him, even though she doesn't know that he's Raiden, which is a very sweet story. And because it was like an arranged marriage, so she kind of had to love him, but now she doesn't know who he is. She falls in love with him anyway, which shows that they are meant to be. And it's kind of a nice flip to this trope. It's like, maybe, you know, in some cases, arranged marriages could be fine. Like, I mean, you could love the person. You know what I mean? Reminds me of kind of like reverse Aladdin, where Aladdin wishes to be all cool and stuff so he could get the princess's attention. Kind of like that. But yeah, I like how they kind of start off butting heads with each other. You know, so he's trying to feed the masses, and he's like, don't do that. That'll just make them very desperate and stuff, and make them lose all hope. When he's trying to, like, actually move them to becoming better people and fix the problem that they're in. He's a very, like, inspirational, like, let's get this done guy. And he's so sweet and compassionate, but still a multi-layered character. He's not without his faults, which makes him good to watch. You don't want to see somebody who's perfect. That would be boring. So all in all, I really enjoyed this novel. Like I said, I'm giving it a B. It's not fantastic, but it was probably the best fantasy I've read in a while. I think it's better than the Lois McMaster Bejeweled novels, though those were pretty good. It's definitely better than the Dragon Riders Upon novels. Those were awful. So probably the best fantasy I've read since Lord of the Rings, I guess. Let me know what you guys thought of this novel down in the comments below. Did you like it as much as I do? Do you think it sucks? Because, like I've said, a lot of people are like, it's his worst book. But if this is his worst book, then I'm so excited for all of these ones. Speaking of that, you could expect my review for the Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy, sometime in July. I'll be reading it sometime in July. It looks about the same size as Elantris, maybe a little bit longer. It's kind of hard to tell because I don't know how big the words are. And I hold this trilogy is probably his best work, this and Stormlight Archive. So I'm just hopping right into it, reading all the Cosmo books in order. So yeah, expect that one in July. In June, I'll probably do my video of Troubled Blood, which is the 5th book in the Coleman Strike series by J.K. Rowling, aka Robert Galbraith. So this is the next book I'm reading, then I'm reading Final Empire. So yeah, subscribe below if you're into any of that stuff. I also do TV reviews, mostly on Doctor Who, but also on Ted Lasso, and pretty much any movie I see. So yeah, subscribe below if you're into any of that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.